Welcome back to the channel, thanks very much for watching. This week's video, I'm doing a top tips on what to look out for when buying a Range Rover. So we've done a short video going through some of the tips that I use when going out and buying, or what I would use if I went out to go and buy another one, knowing what I know now, having owned one for 2 years. If there's anything else that you think that I might have missed, or I'm unaware of, drop me a comment and let me know. And I hope you all enjoy the video. First thing I would look for while going out and buying a car is MOT history. Get the reg, go online, do the MOT history check, and look for any signs that you might have problems: oil leaks, major rust, brake pipes, all sorts of problems that could be there on an MOT history, which will give you an inkling of whether the car's been maintained. Number 2 is what I'd be looking for: get a HPI check done. It doesn't cost a lot of money and it's worth every penny. It gives you everything on there from outstanding finance, stolen, crash damage, etc. The third thing I'd look for is service history. Full service history is always ideal. If you haven't got full service history, part service history is better than no service history. Look for regular oil changes. A good point to have if you've got a car like this. Number 4 is the next main one, is Gearbox. Look for any receipts in there for that a gearbox has been changed, any documentation, because the gearboxes are known to fail from as low as 100,000 miles. Jump underneath and have a check of your gearbox. Make sure it's got not leaking oil. Make sure it's running properly, take it for a drive. Go through all the gears, make sure it's working in manual mode as well as automatic. Number 5 is air suspension. Go through the air suspension, make sure it's going up to its maximum ride height. Always go up before you go down. Make sure everything's working, make sure all the bags are level, make sure none of these are sagging, make sure you've got no leaks. If you can, have a look at the condition of the airbags, have a look through your receipts to see if there's any been changed, and make sure your air suspension is working. Number 6 is water in the boot. A very common problem with these, they get a lot of water in the boot. I'm not 100% sure where it comes from. It can either come from your boot seals or it can come from your drainer holes in the roof, I believe they are. And they clog up with bits of silt and bits of grit and etc, and they clog up, and either way water ends up in the boot. So you've got 2 side panels on either side of the boot. You pull them back and have a good look, because you've got all the electrics in the back of the boot and they get water in them and things start failing. If you see any signs of serious water in there, you know you've got a problem. Number 7 is rust and rot around the arches. The rear arches are prone to rust and rot. So if you open the back doors, you will see it at the very bottom corner. You'll see rust starting to climb. There's a plastic cover guard under there, and mud and silt and crap off the road ends up in there, sits in there, and it eats away your sills. Number 8, oil and coolant check. Check your oil before you've started it. Make sure your oil's good. Check the condition of the oil. Is it brand new? Is it really dark, thick, black? Look for any obvious signs you've got problems. Check your coolant level. Check it's got good quality coolant, clean colour, everything's not, there's no contaminants. If you see a rusty, horrible colour, you've got problems. Number 9, go through every single button in the car. I know it might sound stupid, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do this when buying a car. And what I'd like to do is, if I go out and buy a car off the seller, I get the seller to do everything. Because if something breaks, you'd rather it break while he owns it rather than you own it. Get him to press everything, get him to switch everything on. Make sure all your seats are working, heated seats, your forward and back, steering wheel column, make sure it's going up and down, moving left to right. Check all your windows, check your mirrors, check your heated windscreens, check everything. Another main one to do as well is your high and low box. But like I say, I'd get the seller to do that because they do have a habit of sticking in low range or sticking in high range if they're not being used regularly. So get him to put it in low range and drive it up and down the road, make sure it goes through all the gears, and then get him to bring it back into high range. If you do it and it breaks, there might be an issue there. So get the seller to show you it working, make sure everything's spot on. And number 10, diagnostic tool. Some people might not own a diagnostic tool, but I happen to have one. If I ever go out to a vehicle, I always take my diagnostic tool with me, and I always ask the seller if I can plug it in and read any codes. I'll give you an example of this. I was going to see a Range Rover about 20 minutes away from my house last year when I was looking to rebuy this one. I went out to the car. There was an issue with the car. I plugged it in. On the diagnostic tool, it had a stored fault code at 186,000 miles. When I then went back and checked the mileage on the dashboard, and the mileage was showing 150 something thousand miles. So straight away blew up a red flag that this car has been clocked. Somebody has done a mileage alteration for whatever reason and brought the miles down. It didn't show up on the MOT history. Whoever had done it quite cleverly, and they've either done it over a certain amount of years. Every time before they took it for an MOT, they've clocked the miles back so many thousand each year, and before you know it, it accumulated 30, 40,000 miles where it wasn't on the vehicle, on registering on the dashboard. Another example of this, we went to go and have a look at another one of these. We went to Knutsford. We got there. When we turned up, there was major problems with the car. It had little to no oil in. It had an air suspension code. None of the windows worked. The car had been abused, completely abused, and it was on its last legs. It run and drove, but I just simply walked away from it. There was too much red flags showing me that I didn't even bother running it up and taking it for a drive. As soon as I seen there was no oil, air suspension codes, no windows, the chap who was selling it made out that it had just gone wrong as soon as I turned up. Oh, it wasn't like this this morning. Oh, the windows did work, it must be a fuse. Tried to play everything off as it was no major issue and still tried to sell me the car. Through experience, I knew there was clearly an issue with that car. It was meant to have just had a service, etc. The oil was completely black in there, so it hadn't just had a service. There was little to no oil in it. More examples of people selling off lemons, as they call them. So you've just got to be super careful and make sure you don't buy a lemon. And the main thing is as well, just go home and think about it. You don't have to rush into anything. If there's a car for sale and it's up for sale, there will always be another one. If you miss out on one, just keep looking, you will find another one. Another top tip, I've done it in the past. If you've got service history records and you've got receipts of a certain garage that does a lot of work on a specific vehicle, phone the garage and ask them, what do they know about the vehicle? Is it a good vehicle? Is it a bad vehicle? And most garages will have a record of that vehicle on their books, and they will go, yeah, we have that vehicle in every year for a service, blah, blah, blah. And they can tell you a lot more information than the seller will. They're just little hints and little points that I use when I'm going out to buy a new car, and especially a Range Rover. Right, thanks very much for watching. If you've all enjoyed the video, give me a like, subscribe, drop us a comment. If there's anything that we haven't mentioned or we haven't gone over and you want to know a bit more information, don't forget we're running a giveaway. We'll be finishing tonight at 12 o'clock. So that's on a couple of previous videos. We're giving away a strimmer and a multi-tool, part of the business. If you want to get involved in that, drop us a comment, like and subscribe on that video, and we'll do a draw on Friday evening, hopefully. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. Catch you all on the next